Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a closer look at our first Ecuadorian release of the season, a delicate and floral filter coffee from Jorge Tapia, who we've been working with for the last 3 years. Jorge has been producing coffee in the north of Ecuador in the Pichincha region for the past 4 years. We first discovered his coffee in 2018 through green coffee importer Caravella. We then took a trip to Ecuador in 2019 with the intention of visiting him and his family to witness firsthand how he's working and to try and strengthen our relationship. 6 years ago, a government initiative supplied 25 families in the lower area with seeds and basic processing equipment. This came with the promise to purchase their coffee crops at 5 times the market rate. Since the first small harvest in 2017, this number has shrunk to just 3 producers, as the government didn't keep their promise in the second year. Many producers found the cost of production far too high to justify continuing in coffee. Thankfully though, Jorge has persevered, and having received a loan from Caravella, he's installed his own manual depulping machine right amongst his coffee trees. This has given him more control and autonomy over his processing and ultimately his potential to produce high quality lots. The particular location of Jorge's farm, coupled with the fact that there are so few others growing coffee nearby, means that he doesn't have to battle with broca, the coffee borer beetle, or roya, a fungal leaf rust. These are 2 plights common to the majority of South and Central American coffee farmers. Before the harvest, Jorge will typically apply 2 fertilizations to the soil and use a foliar spray, having been guided by Ivan, one of Caravella's Pekka team in Ecuador. Being only the 4th harvest for Jorge and his wife Hilda, who come from a background in rearing cattle, they're enthusiastic and willing to learn, with the goal of producing high quality specialty coffee. When it is time to harvest, typically around August time, they carefully select ripe coffee cherries and manually depulp them amongst the trees before carrying back the depulped coffee in sacks to their farmhouse to process. They initially undergo a 24-hour fermentation stage in sealed bags to break down the mucilage layer, before washing it off in large plastic tubs. The water is then drained away overnight before the coffee is placed in the eaves of Jorge's farmhouse to initially dry in the shade for 8 days. To finish off the drying process, the coffee is then taken out onto raised beds under parabolic shade coverings for a further week or so before the coffee is stored in grain pro sacks until milling. The sole variety planted on Jorge's farm, Finca Jesus del Gran Poder, is Typica Mejerado, of which he has around 2,300 trees. Translating to improved Typica, it is actually a misnomer. It has been planted widely after some of the workers at an experimental farm run by Nestle smuggled out some seeds of a high-performing variety they believed to be from a Typica selection. After genetic testing on some of the leaf cuttings undertaken by World Coffee Research, the genetics point to the variety actually being a cross between Bourbon and Geisha coffee trees. Now we have a better understanding of what Jorge is doing on his farm in Lower, let's brew up a V60 and see what flavours we're getting. The last 2 lots we roasted from Jorge have shared some characteristics that are present yet again in this latest crop. We've got flavours like stone fruits, cherries, apricots, as well as gentle florals, which leads to a bright and sherberty acidity. We've also noticed kind of like pines sappiness. It's a little harder to describe, but kind of like maple and other fragrant herbs, which makes it a little bit more complex and interesting. As with the last 2 years, there's also a very clean and refined sweetness, kind of like white sugar, which supports a lot of the brighter fruit notes and floral aromatics. As it cools, the cup becomes a little bit more tropical, with some flavours like lychee and sugarcane juice developing. We're continually impressed with Jorge's practices and processes, and every lot we've had the pleasure of showcasing has been an excellent example of just how delicate, juicy and floral coffees from northern Ecuador can be. This is one of 3 coffees from Ecuador that will be joining our seasonal range this year. We'll also be welcoming back Ramiro Grande and Felipe Abad for the 3rd year in a row, so be sure to keep an eye out for these in the coming months. Until then, we hope you're as excited to welcome back Jorge Tapia as we are. Take care, and we'll see you next time.